It's a nice sunny day in Columbus, Ohio.
Day after Boris's birthday. Is my homework assignment here?
Yep. I get it all in, yeah?
That's okay. Multitasking.
Yeah.
It is. Where are we? What's the name of this park?
It's called Goodall Park.
Goodall Park. Jane Goodall?
I don't think so, although there are lots of dogs.
Okay. Little dogs and big dogs. I'm gonna go by the water.
Okay.
Can you come?
Yeah.
You're very talented, filming and walking backwards.
Well, it's a gift I have. think of the baby head car? What do you think of the baby's head car?
I love the baby head car. I want it. I'm going to drive it back to DC. I'm going to make my own. I'll tell Amelia. Sticking baby heads on her. Or maybe kitty heads.
There you go. Now you're talking.
Or my Reiki mobile. Nah, it doesn't really quite. It doesn't really fit. Okay, so why was Oktoberfest in September?
Good question. I don't know. How does it feel to be 37? Well, it feels the same as being 36. Except that I did have a moment yesterday when I said, well, you know, I'm 37. Wow, kind of weird. But I think I took to it very quickly and very easily. I'm fine.
Okay.
I think I sort of, since I'm going to be 40 when I graduate, I'm kind of sort of like thinking that in that time frame of like, you know.
Wow. That's great.
Thinking, all right, so I'll be 40 when I get to school, so I'm thinking that I'm, you know, I'm 40, basically. So that's my, this is just, you know, treading water till then.
Aww. You don't like swimming.
Huh?
You don't like to swim.
No, I know. That's okay.
Did you ever think of yourself when you were young at what 40 would be like?
I only thought of 33 because that was the year 2000. I did think, I remember in 6th grade thinking, in the year 2000, I'm going to be 33. So,
That's cool.
yeah.
Did you picture yourself doing anything?
No. I mean, I thought I was going to be either a football player or an interior designer.
Oh, both.
I didn't really see myself doing both, playing football and being a interior designer.
See, that exemplifies your duality nature very well.
Yes.
Like we were talking about.
Yeah.
Your aesthetic picture.
Yeah.
That's it right there.
Yeah.
And look at you, you're neither.
Huh?
And you're not either one, and yet you're both. Because you're athletic, and you design things.
It's true. Who knew?
Well, you're wearing 37 very well.
some really big ones that are like 18 inches out. Some are made, and these are all made by hand. The tutus are stitched by hand on and onto that, each of these, and cut with the pinking shears so that it, you know, stands out like it does, which is basically so you can see the whole leg when you're dancing, because so much of the classical ballet is the technique of the legs and the feet. So the tutu is to let you be able to see all of that in the classical tutu. And then these are all stitched, you know, and fitted. The thing with ballet, what a lot of you might know, is that more than one dancer often is wearing, playing a certain role. So and this one didn't, which was interesting. Here's one that does. You'll see that they'll have more, and very seldom you'll have zippers in ballet, because they're almost usually hooks and eyes. So you'll see a whole different thing, so that a dancer that's this big versus this big can wear the same costume. Yeah. So that's the sort of the classical, as we're seeing here. The principals are wearing the blue. The corps are wearing the gold in Raimonda. We like I said, we build many of our costumes. So this fabric that you're seeing all over underneath here are like remnants or things that have been used. Some of the fabrics are just exquisite, you know, and they'll go shop for that, and different types of fabrics to make the costumes. Are there any questions about the costume? I'm going to show you just a little bit more in the costume area, but any questions on that? Yeah. And the other thing was, we talked about dance costumes, is that they have to look like the character or a time period, depending on the production, obviously. But they also have to be designed so the dancers can truly move. So, because often, you know, they might have it up here, or the men have to do a lot of lifting if it's a more classical piece. And so the whole idea is how the body works, and then how the costumes can give and whatever. So when they build it, that's very important. We do a lot of dyeing of costumes, which is what they call a romantic tutu. It's a longer length, and that's more of a character work up there. A lot of Nutcracker is sitting over there, and many of the racks. The wings up here from A Midsummer Night's Dream. So there's Beauty and the Beast is down that way, I think. So these are just the different ballets that have been built. Some of the very far ends, we do take costumes out to schools or to booths so that kids can try the older ones on, and they like that a lot. So, and this is an interesting set of costumes here, and I can't remember what piece that goes with. Oh, those are Beauty and the Beast down that way. So, some of the different ones that we have here. Romeo and Juliet. He's somewhere here. Okay. Well,
how fun.
Yeah. So let me take you this way. Oops, sorry.
I want to try to get in there.
Okay. And stay comfortable. But so that's that. And the shank is you know, obviously it's very stiff. And it takes a long time for a dancer.
It's just fabric and glue.
Fabric and glue. And it takes a long while. Usually if a child has started dancing ballet, probably about the age of 12 to 13, their muscles are actually strong enough, and they've built the muscle to be able to go up on point. So it takes a long time to build up to that. Then the worst thing is to try to put somebody up on point too early, before all the muscles and the structure is able to support that. So, yeah. Let me just put this away. So that's sort of the shoe room here. I'll just close that. I think probably what I should do is get you all to the rehearsal, right, Beth? Should I kind of like a little vinyl siding, but the floor underneath is sprung. This is obviously a wood tap floor. And so we teach tap, we also teach Irish step in here. And we have taught flamenco for a number of years, but we're not teaching it this year just because we don't have an instructor trained in that. So, this is the tap studio.
Down this way.
Connor, what are you doing with the skateboard? Come on here, give it a
They
skateboard.
love flying.
They're performing. The future.
This, we have 7 studios, including the tap studio here, and you'll see 3 or 4 of them. But so this is the dancers, the professional company, not the students. They come in and take class every morning from 9:15 till 10:45, and they go through a bar exercise and a floor exercise, and then from 11 o'clock to 6 o'clock they rehearse. And they do that 5 days a week on a regular rehearsal weeks, and then when we're performing, like at the end of this month is Carmina Burana, they'll do 6 days a week just on the actual performance week, but not as many hours per day. So that's what they do on their regular day. They're here from 9:15 to 6 o'clock. So, and that's why they're always in great shape, you know. I should do that. And this is the room that they take their company class in normally, because it's a great space as far as light and size. So I think we can pop over into the next one so you can watch a little bit of the rehearsal.
Studios.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, the wood beams are nice too.
Hmm. Cool.
Who is in the ladder? Please go over and join the ladder.
Dance fish.
Huh?
Time we take the dance fish, you can use this for your
All going to start on the right leg. and then
That's very nice.
So everybody, when you begin, will start on your right leg. 7 and 8, and 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 6, 2, 7, 2, 3, 8. Yadam faya, faya, fam fam, faya, fam gurda, yam fam fam fam, yadam fam fam, faya, fam fam, fam fam, fam fam, faya, fam fam, yadam fam fam. The 3 and the 4 and the 5 and the 6 and the 7 and 8. Okay, at this point, I need to make sure that our center people are further apart. So you can be on this line right now. There's no markings on this board. So you can be on that line. You can be here. Now, Ms. Darby, you talk about the coming forward at this point. Please, so can you explain to them again because I don't use this question.
Okay, so this is where they come 1 and 2, and now 3 and 4.
Because Natalie and Karen usually bring them down.
Okay, do you want them to do this coming down, or do they just walk? Down 3, and you want them down
again in two straight lines. You're going to swirl it together. The other 7 and 8, and the 1 and the 2 and the 3, kneel, 3. So I would suggest as you go down to kneel, unless you're a really accomplished modern dancer, you go like that. So you want to go 3 and 4. So just put one knee down and then the second one down. So one knee on 3, the other knee on 4. Let's get it. So anyway, you don't need to go step out to OSU, to the big K turn, go into each other. Because then moving forward, you won't hit anybody. Will they happen? 7 and 8, and the 1 and the 2 and the 3 and the 4 and the 5 and the 6 and the 7 and 8 and the 1 and the 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and the 6 and the 7 and 8 and the 1 and the 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Come forward to the end of the lines. You two need to be at the end of the lines. 6. Then everyone stand up. 7, 8, shuffle back. 9, 10, 11. All the way back, back. Okay. So that'll take you hopefully to the back of whatever the space is that we have, because that sleigh's going to come on right now and you'll get hit by that. Okay. The step that the 4 ladies behind. 5 and the 6 and the 7 and 8 and the 1 and the 2 and the 3 and 4 and 5 and the 6 and the 7 and 1 and the 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and the 6 and the 7 and 8 and the 1 and the 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and the 6. Yeah, it's not suiting you and not beautiful forever. After you've done the jeté, try and feel late you've done the jeté, then you step into the suit, you're already outside the lines here. So you're behind the ladies. You do your jeté here. You really need to run the suit view here. So you just take a step forwards here, and then we all come up together. Okay, then you won't forget I want to do one new thing with you today. So I want to make sure that every day we move on a little bit. Let's rearrange ourselves to be 1, 2. You know when you do the zipper going forwards? Be in that order. Okay, now this is, after you've done this whole thing, you leave the stage, and we go up into the second act, the Sugar Plum Fairy's Kingdom Ballroom. There's some doors at the center of the back of the stage. You're going to run through this doorway, and then we're going to do this little thing. So she's going to be the first one to come out, and she goes to this side. 1, you go there. 2, you go there. 3. Come to there, 5, come forward, through the middle, this side, through the middle to the end, through the middle to the end, through the middle to the end, through the middle to the end. Okay, now the other thing, it's not a straight line, it's going to be diagonals this way. Okay, like that. So this is where we're going to end. So all you have to do is run on. You're going to pass forwards and you're going to just turn and point on you with a forward bend.
Is that fast?
Actually, we don't have these anymore. It's daytime now, we don't need all that. As you leave stage, you will deposit them in a box, not like that.
Okay.
There'll be time between this and the next entrance, yeah? So, when you run in, you're going to run in, and you're going to do a turn up and reverse down. So if I'm on this side, I'm going to turn to the right, and point my right foot forward. If I'm on this side, I'm going to turn to the left, and point my left foot. That way. the end, isn't it? Yeah, let's do that once again. You probably anticipate a little bit running. And forwards, and have the left arm for this side, right arm up on that side. So let's just try that once again, and that's on the end. Seven and eight and a one and a two and a three and a four and a five and a six and a seven and eight and a nine and a 10 and 11 jump. Good. All right, I'm going to give you the music to find out what speed this is at.
You are so organized.
The littlest one go the furthest. Really tough.
We need to go. I got totally into it. Easy to do. Totally forgot to wash my watch.
Well, the lights just need to be closer. They don't need to be that close and then bounce onto the. This is what he has, Lily, and I don't know if you have a better idea. He's just using 2 lights. Maybe we need another key light.
For the screen?
Just for the screen.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys, okay, so here's the lighting kit. Some of you guys have seen this before. Boris, what are you doing? You don't think you're going to learn this the first time? Okay, so you guys have seen this before.
Lighting makes me nervous.
Lighting makes me nervous.
States, having at the time of their adopting the Constitution, expressed a desire, in order to prevent misconstruction or abuse of its powers, that further declaratory and restrictive clauses should be added, and as extending the ground of public confidence in the government will best ensure the beneficent ends of its institution. This preamble is often not even printed, not even when you get the little pocket constitutions. It has been basically ignored. Now what this says is that because we were worried about the possibility of government misinterpreting the Constitution and abusing government powers, just the hypothetical possibility, of course, that we were going to add a series of declaratory statements. The Bill of Rights does not grant you your rights. Basically, it enumerates your rights and tells Congress and the rest of government that they should not infringe on those rights. First Amendment doesn't grant you freedom of religion. It says Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion. The Bill of Rights are further restrictive clauses on government power. Well, if the Bill of Rights are further restrictive clauses, what are the original restrictive clauses? Well, it's the Constitution itself. The Constitution and the Bill of Rights set up limitations on government power. Unfortunately, most of what our federal government does these days is unconstitutional, and I find that unconscionable and totally unacceptable. Now, as I was campaigning over the last 2 years, one of the things that I did was to stop at colleges and universities across the country. And at one particular university, they had me speaking in a huge auditorium, beautiful auditorium, 300 or more seats, and there were only about 15 students in the first row. I thought this was a little bit odd myself, and I said, well, why didn't you just get a small classroom? We could have been closer, a little bit more informal. It would have been easier for us to discuss the issues. And I was told, and at first I thought they were kidding, I was told that because I was a presidential candidate, I was obligated to speak in this auditorium because the auditorium was a free speech zone. Well, being a computer programmer, I deal in logic, and my next question was, what about the hallway? What about the rest of the campus? And I was assured that the rest of the campus was not a free speech zone. Well, I will tell you the same thing that I told those students that afternoon. Anywhere I happen to be standing is a free speech zone. Anywhere you happen to be standing is a free speech zone. The government doesn't give us permission. We give the government permission. We created the government. We, the people, have rights. We give the government privileges. And we can take those privileges away from the government anytime we have the courage to do so. Now, I am very proud to announce, and you probably already know, that my friend David Cobb, presidential candidate of the Green Party, and I are challenging the vote count in Ohio. We are doing this jointly. We are trying to establish the fact that maybe, just maybe, the votes weren't counted properly. Imagine that. Now, Americans have been doing exit polls for over 20 years. And, you know, given the habit of, you know, lying and cheating, or not cheating, but not being overly forthcoming with who you were planning to vote for prior to the election, Americans seem to have an incredible candid attitude when people are coming out of the voting booth and they are questioned about who they have just voted for. They are incredibly honest, because over 20 years the exit polls have ended up within 1% of the final totals, which is one of the reasons that we go through the trouble of doing exit polls, because we really want to know, you know, a few minutes ahead of the conclusion as to who's going to win. Well, this year, apparently, there's been a wide discrepancy between the exit polls and the vote counts. And all the talking heads in the national media have jumped to the conclusion that, well, you know, it must be the exit polls that are wrong. I don't think so. I think the exit polls are probably a lot closer to the truth. And David Cobb and I are going to do this recount to try to see if we can't achieve the truth. I have a long history of being a computer programmer. I've been in the computer industry for well over 30 years. And I will tell you right now, if you allow me to write the program and keep the source code a secret, I promise I can tell you who's going to win by what margin before the polls even open. I have zero confidence, that is absolutely zero confidence in the accuracy and efficacy of electronic voting machines. I think there's a bumper sticker that I saw several months ago that sums up the idea fairly succinctly. The bumper sticker says, "Die bold, making machines that vote so you don't have to." This is not acceptable. One of the statistics that I discovered last night during a conference call was that although David Cobb was not able to get on the ballot officially in Ohio, he was a write-in candidate. And out of 5.5 million voters in Ohio, apparently 24 voted for David Cobb. Now, the way that you get that percentage is to take 24, divide by 5.5 million, and I would have that answer for you, but my calculator would go that low. I do not believe that David Cobb only got 24 votes, even if he's a write-in candidate. These are all indications that perhaps, just perhaps, the election in Ohio and probably other states were not authentic and were not accurate. And again, our investigation is going to try to establish the quality of fairness and honesty in the most recent election.
Right on. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Now let me return to history again. Benjamin Franklin noted that there is a difference between revolution and rebellion. According to Benjamin Franklin, revolution is an astronomical term. When a planet revolves around a sun, it comes back to its original starting point. According to Benjamin Franklin, the American Revolution was a change in the way that Americans thought. In 1760, we were all very proud to be English subjects. But between 1760 and 1775, we changed the way we thought about the king. We changed the way we thought about the way government should operate. And according to Benjamin Franklin, we came full circle back to the idea of private property. So according to Benjamin Franklin, in that 15 years, we had a change in the way of people thought. That was the American Revolution. Starting in 1775 with the shot heard around the world, that's when we had the American Rebellion, where we actually had to fight, and many people lost blood in their lives in order to protect those ideas. Benjamin Franklin also postulated that it is quite possible to have a revolution, a change in the way that people think, without a rebellion, without the loss of blood, but only if the revolution comes early enough. And I want you to know that I am personally trying to start another American Revolution. I want to change the way that people think about their government. And in doing so, I teach an 8-hour class on the Constitution that will shatter many of your widely held misconceptions about the way that government should work. And fortunately, if you can't make the class, I have written a book. The name of the book is Good to be King. Now that's a little bit of a controversial title when you're running for president. The title of the book is not Good to be the King. The title of the book is really Good to be a King. When we wrote the Declaration of Independence, we severed our ties with the king. we became sovereign citizens. We have 285 million kings and queens in the United States. We are the source of all political power. And until we change the way we think about ourselves, we are never going to change the way Congress thinks about us and the way that Congress operates. So I want you to concentrate on the fact that you are all kings and queens. You are the source of political power in the United States. And if you want to, you can change the way our government works. Thank you very much for your time.
Ladies and gentlemen, Pat LaMarche of the Green Party, thank you so much for coming here and speaking to us today. Pat LaMarche.
Got my front woman here. David Cobb says hi. He says he's really sorry he can't make it, but he's busy trying to get Ohio honest. Of course, the state of Ohio is very honest. It's the rest of the folks in the running the business that we have to keep an eye on. And so you have the second string, and I'm very honored to be here. Thank you very much for having me. I really liked listening to what Mr. Badnarik had to say, because the Constitution is so important, and I'm a history nut myself. And I'm going to try and give you a few little history lessons today as well. I was recently, a few people mentioned that I recently, well, just after the election, I went to Canada. It wasn't forever, although the temptation was there. You know, it was nice to be in a country where old ladies don't beg for medicine. And I looked back over my shoulder across the border, and I looked at a country where a judge just overturned hate laws, and we're prejudiced against people because of who they love. And I thought, hey, Canada's pretty nice. But actually I went up there to go lobster fishing. Got to find a job, you know, when you don't become the Vice President of the United States. But I came back, and I came back even though, and by the way, there is a website of Canadian men who are offering themselves in marriage to women from the United States who'd like health care. And I came back in spite of all those options. And I came back because this is a country that I think is worth fighting for. And the 100,000 hits the day after the election for people who thought they might go to Canada, this is a country worth fighting for. And I love what this country stands, or is supposed to stand for. I love that Constitution he was talking about. So in honor of the soldiers that froze at Valley Forge, I came back. In honor of the guys at Gettysburg, Little Round Top, folks from Maine, I came back. Flanders, people who fought for what they thought this country was supposed to stand for. Normandy, you know Normandy, that's where they used dental records to prove that you died fighting for your country and what you believe in. Not dental records to prove you were in Alabama hiding from the draft. I came back because of the DMZ and the folks who fought to secure it in a crazy war that's still going on. If you wonder how long we could be in Iraq, we've been in Korea for 50 years. I came back because of Hanoi and all the folks there and the lessons that we clearly never learned. And because of those souls who died in Fallujah last week. We have to fight to make sure that this country is ours. And David Cobb and Michael Badnarik are making that fight, and they're starting in Ohio. This country's more divided than I could ever even imagine it. I'm from a blue state, but still when I walk in my neighbor's garage and I see the Bush-Cheney sign, I feel a division that I can't even describe. I can't imagine what that's like if you're from the red state. I just want to go over a really quick history lesson about what's happening with this thing in Ohio and remind us that what we're looking for is not any kind of a return. It's making this country what it's meant to be. Because we all know that the people of color have long been deprived their right to vote. There was a 3/5 law that said that a person of color was only 3/5 of a human being and could only have 3/5 of a vote. We've been stealing people's votes for centuries. What we're doing now is trying to get them to stop. We've gerrymandered districts so that people lost their representation. We had colored ballots, so that if you wanted to vote for one person, the ballot was blue, or if you wanted to vote for another person, the ballot was green. The old Tammany machine, the Pendergast machine. And your boss would look at you when you picked up the colored ballot and go, and you put the ballot back, and you voted for the person your boss wanted you to vote for. We've been stealing votes for generations. We're just getting really good at it now. For those who are wondering about the Ohio recount, I have just the legal, real quickly, I'll go over the legal background of the Ohio recount so you'll know what we can do for this legal recount and what we can't. First of all, you have to be presidential candidates to demand a recount on the basis that we have demanded it. That is appalling. You can't be a United States citizen who said, I think my vote was stolen. You can't do anything about it. You have to get a presidential candidate who's willing, after a long campaign and arduous work of traveling the whole country, to stand up and say, this person's vote was robbed.
All right, thanks a lot.
Now, you'd think it would be a presidential candidate who might win if they stood up and said that, but this hasn't happened. So David Cobb and Michael Badnarik have done that. They've stepped up to the plate, and they have stepped forward for the people of Ohio. There are 4 states. We can only do it based on fact, because it's a legal challenge, presidential legal challenge. We can only do it based on fact. And there are 4 states that exhibit tangible evidence of fraud. And those are, I'm no lawyer, but David Cobb is, so you're in good hands. Florida is one of them. Why? Because old habits die hard. Ohio, where we are pursuing the recount, New Mexico and North Carolina. Those are the 4 states where we have tangible evidence. We chose Ohio for 2 very, very important reasons. First thing, there are so many people on the ground ready to work on it. It's going to take thousands of volunteers. We need volunteers in every precinct in every county. It takes an enormous amount of just citizenry willing to do the recount. In Ohio, they are willing to do it.
Right.
The other reason is because Ohio has substantial impact on the Electoral College and could significantly change the outcome of the presidency. So when we had to pick a state, we picked Ohio. Not that New Mexico isn't important, it just won't have the same outcome. In Ohio, there were 2 town meetings. One was on the 12th, the other was on the 15th of November. At these town meetings, there was testimony and there was evidence gathered clearly indicating violations. This is what we know. The voter machines were limited, as you heard earlier, on purpose by the Secretary of State, so that in the neighborhoods where people of color lived, they had to wait in incredibly long lines and in many cases did not vote. In the year 2000, 60% of white folks voted for George Bush. So it didn't, even George can do that math. You got to make sure that the black folks don't vote if you want to make sure that you're ripping off the election. The limited number of machines caused intolerably long lines. There's testimony of jumping computer screens. You know, I saw this as a joke prior to the election. Did anyone see that going around the internet where you'd go to do it and the thing would move? There was evidence of jumping computer screens. When the machines defaulted because of the jumping screen, the vote could only be cast for Bush. It was never accidentally cast for Badnarik. It was never accidentally cast for anyone else. It could only be cast for Bush. While you have heard that there's anecdotal evidence of those exit polls, that is not a factual evidence that we can enter into in a legal battle, and therefore we cannot use it. However, we can use the evidence that Mr. Bush received more votes in many precincts than there were registered voters. For example, in one precinct, there were 4,000 votes for George Bush and only 700 people voted. That's what we in the Green Party call evidence. Bush allegedly won by 136,000 votes. I was a math major in college, so let's do the math. 133,000 provisional votes and 92,000 spoiled ballots. those would be your Chads. 92,000 hanging Chads. Thousands of people with long histories, thousands of people with long histories, some of them as many as 40 years of never missing an election, did not make it on the voting rolls this time. Some of it was because of those provisional ballots, some of them was the lines. They were all people of color. Precincts from across Ohio were requiring people to furnish more identification than required by law. When people didn't have the third or fourth piece of identification, they were sent home. These are all facts with people willing to testify. These are the things that we are going to bring forward in Ohio. And fact last, Ohio Secretary of State Blackwell, the only person with the power to determine the process in every one of these precincts in all 88 counties, is not just a Republican supporter of President Bush, he is the co-chair of the Ohio Committee to re-elect President Bush. Remember CREEP? The Committee to re-elect the President? Well, now we have the bead attack on the end, so it's creepy. Well, with the creepy Secretary of State running things, I guess the bottom line is, I don't know if I can stand here with all this information and give you any hope. But you people standing here give me hope. Hope that together we can work for a necessary and lasting change of a very corrupt system. And it's not a new corruption, it's power. And you know Machiavelli, power corrupts absolutely. But we've whittled ourselves down to such an oligarchy now that the few in power want to stay in power. And they're really blatantly doing it in an enlightened time when we have the power to stop them. We have to turn this tide of history. We have to make the United States what it was supposed to be. What he said, 285 million autonomous, powerful beings. You know what bothers me the most about the way that we have winners in this country? They represent the people who voted for them. Well, I'm terribly sorry, but once you're the president of everybody. You're the president of children, and they can't vote. You're the president of everybody, and your country deserves a good president. So this is our hope, our dream, and this is what we're fighting for. This is why I'm not going to Canada to find a really hot guy. No more stolen elections. No more manipulated results. We're going to count every vote. You've heard that before, but we're going to do it.
Right on.
We must have a genuinely independent administration of our elections. No more creepy election officials.
Right on.
We must have an auditable paper trail.
Yeah.
I hate to bring up the word Walmart. You know, 40% of Walmart employees qualify for food stamps. But if you noticed, if you go into Walmart and you use a check, and you go back 6 months later, Walmart knows who you are. You put the check in, it knows you, you don't need a license again. If Walmart can remember that I bought cough drops 6 months ago, how come there's no paper trail for my vote?
Right on. Yeah. All right.
And we have to have genuine election reform. If the World Series, which by the way, I'm from, Red Sox country, it's a beautiful thing. Knew we used up all our good luck though. If the World Series had only 2 teams and they played all 180 games, by the end of the World Series, who would care who won? We need more teams. Extra pitchers, extra batters, guys who do things differently. A Pedro Martinez to throw somebody's head on the ground. What the heck, it makes it exciting. We need instant runoff voting. We need publicly funded elections. We need equal access to the debates. I tell you what, if I'd been in that vice presidential debate and Dick Cheney said he didn't know that 25% of African American women are HIV positive, I'd have slapped him down. What's going on? Why keep people who know what's going on out of the debates? I mean, we don't have lives. Let us debate. And we have to have open ballot access. Every group who wants to form a political party, right to assemble, where was that one? Where's my Constitution guy? There you go. There we go. Says we deserve the right to have a political party. And if Abraham Lincoln thought that his rapid rise in the Republican Party and the dissolution of the Whig Party did this to us, he'd be really angry. Not that I speak for Lincoln often, but I feel comfortable doing it this time. Our people are not the agenda. The people of the United States will know that they are the agenda when we have a living wage, when we have universal health care, when we have equal access to the polls, when there's no more Patriot Act, no more child left behind, and our wonderful, brave men and women are home and safe, not fighting a illegal, immoral, talk about morality, and dishonest war. And lastly, I'm almost done. If you pinched me until I turned black and blue, I could not tell you why so many people are willing to accept this. I can't tell you why so many people are saying, oh well, let's make peace. You know, that's the kind of stuff that keeps your abuser living in your house. You don't make peace with your abuser, you throw him out.
Right.
So I'm going to leave you with the words of Harriet Tubman.
Right.
I love Harriet Tubman because I think Harriet Tubman really put her thumb on it.
Yep.
She said, if I could have convinced more people, if I could have convinced more slaves that they were slaves, I would have freed thousands more. You all got to go home and talk to your neighbors and your friends and explain to them what slavery means. Because we can't free you if you don't accept the fact that you need to be freed. You can't get your government back if you don't accept the fact that it's not yours anymore. The job we have in Ohio doesn't start with fixing the problem. It starts with recognizing the problem. And we need to do it. And what David, I'm so glad to meet David. He brought me up here for a couple hours. I got to go home. My son's in a play tonight. But what David said about how we absolutely, positively have to accept the fact that we have been put in this position and it's ours to change. That's the most important thing we can do right now.
Right.
And until we do that, we'll have no success in this endeavor. So we're going to keep fighting. We're going to stay out of Canada. David is reportedly going to Mexico, but it's just for vacation. And then David Cobb, Mr. Badnarik, Mr. Campagna, and I, the 4 people on the ballot in Ohio, who really believe that every vote in this country counts. We'll keep fighting until we get our country back. Thank you.
If you've just arrived, I'm David Lytle with Redefeat Bush. I'm going to talk to you about righting the left, how to build a more successful and potent opposition industry. But first I wanted to make a couple of announcements. Please, it's expensive, time-consuming, and difficult to find you. And if you would give us your email address, if you would come here and sign in, we can do these more effectively if we don't have to advertise to find you. Please give us your email address so we can find you again. Secondly, we have sheets here called 10 questions on the legitimacy of the 2004 election. Please take one with you. Third, Mothers Against Bush. We are proud to announce Mothers Against Bush have announced a boycott of shopping on Black Friday, November 26th. They're asking you to stay out of chain stores, malls, and gas stations to show that we are, to show your support for the Bushcott. How'd I do? Is that all right? And we're using Mob to spread the word, and Redefeat Bush and others as well. And then finally, in terms of announcements, any of you who've been taking photographs or have video available, we'd like very much to have some of it. If you would let us know, if you'd come over to the table and see whether or not you would be willing to make, at our expense, a copy of your photographs and your videos. So you've learned a lot so far. We've all learned a lot in the last hour about what went wrong in the 2004 election. What I want to talk to you about now is how we will form a center-left coalition that successfully installs a government that reflects the will of a popular majority. And my way into that topic is to tell you a story. Probably the most fun gig I ever got paid for was a traveling educational roadshow, a Chautauqua, if you know what that is, in which I got up on stage in full costume and played the role of Alexis de Tocqueville. Now, there's no script, and I had to answer audience questions, so I had to master Tocqueville's writings fairly well. Tocqueville had many prescient insights and observations about democracy in America and in general. But in essence, the reason we still read Tocqueville today is because he's understood so much better than his contemporaries where the threats to liberty would come from in the future. He lived in an era in which the primary democratic accomplishment was the overthrow of royal governments. But he challenged the idea that a popular government was necessarily a just and a democratic one. In fact, Tocqueville argued, clever tyrants in the future will rule with popular support and will manufacture consent as they need it. So, if you prepared yourselves for a battle with royal forces to end despotism and dictatorship, he said, you will not succeed, because the true threat to liberty is actually coming from someplace else. We're at a very similar moment now in the long history of democracy in America. After considerable experimentation and innovation, the anti-democratic forces have invented new ways of undermining the popular will, expressed both in public opinion polls and in free elections. Conservatives have built and operated a reactionary opposition industry that successfully undermined Clinton and Gore and installed Bush as president. Regrettably, what we do mostly in the progressive opposition is hew to the old strategy of poring over different policies and policy formulations as if we could come up with the absolutely perfect formulation of a policy agenda, and the Bush government would be so overwhelmed by its perfection that they would just roll over and abdicate. In fact, the return of progressives and Democrats to power has almost nothing to do with the formulation of a policy agenda. Hell, the only reason they got the 2000 presidential election close enough to steal was by running on our issues. It's almost purely a matter of strategies and tactics and the creation of a new opposition industry that is as well organized as their opposition industry was. Let's take a look at the vibrant and dynamic opposition industry the right wing created during the Clinton presidency. Conservative think tanks, interest groups, political organizations achieved an unprecedented level of cooperation and coordination. They engaged not just in parallel play with each other, which is mostly what we do, but they genuinely forged a functioning must achieve a similar level of collaboration and be similarly innovative with their techniques for mobilizing and organizing. It's far more complicated than just watching what they did on the right and doing that. We have a different set of challenges and different assets, and it's a different time. Part of what needs to happen, let the psychiatrist figure him out. Listen while the demonstrators cheer and shout, we'll all feel better in the morning. We got a president so bad, gotta be the worst we ever had. Got the job because of his dad, now we're all in danger. Thank you all very much. He's a cowboy president, but he wears a black hat. In America, can't get away with that. On the eve of destruction again, and he's got the knack. He's a cowboy president, but he wears a black hat. He come into town with a chip on his shoulder. His cowboy boots made him feel tall. He said by proclamation, now there's a new order, and I am the fiercest leader of all. Wore a pair of 6-shooters, a Bowie knife and a rifle, and a Derringer stashed in his boot. He said, y'all drop your weapons, I'm here to disarm you. Don't give me a reason to shoot. Everyone protested, they all turned against him, said, just who do you think you are? He said, many are good, but many are evil, and I am the avatar. They all drew and fired, he yelled Condoleezza, if you're with me then blast them to hell. She came right
shouting out orders and twirling two pistols remarkably well. When it was over, there's nothing left standing, nothing moving, nothing to say. They drove the prisoners east to the boats for their hanging from the gallows overlooking Guantanamo Bay. He's a cowboy president, but he wears a black hat. In old America, you could never get away with that. With an ego the size of Texas and his brand on Iraq. He's a cowboy president, but he wears a black hat. He's a cowboy president, but he wears a black hat.
16 years ago. My God. Yes. After that long kiss, I near lost my breath. So we are all flowers. He said I was a flower of the mountain. Yes. So we are flowers all, a woman's body. Yes. So we are flowers. I liked him. That was one true thing he said in his life. Yes. And the sun shines for you today. Yes. That was why I liked him. Because I saw he understood or felt what a woman is. And I knew I could always get round him. And I gave him all the pleasure I could. Leading him on. Till he asked me to say yes. And I wouldn't answer first. Only looked out over the sea and the sky. I was thinking of so many things he didn't know of. Mobley and Mr. Stanhope, and Hester and Father and old Captain Rose, and the sailors playing. All birds fly, and I say stoop. And washing up dishes, they called it on the pier. And the sentry in front of the governor's house, with the thing around his white helmet. Poor devil half roasted. And the Spanish girls laughing in their shawls and their tall combs. And the auctions in the morning. The Greeks and the Jews and the Arabs. And the devil knows who else from all the ends of Europe in Duke Street. And the fowl market all clucking outside Larby Sharon's. And the poor donkey slipping half asleep and the vague fellows and their cooks asleep in the shade on the steps. And the big wheels of the carts of the bulls, and the old castle thousands of years old. Thousands of years old. And those handsome Moors, all in white and turbans like kings, asking you to sit down in a little bit of shop. Yes. And Rhonda, with the old windows of their posadas, glancing eyes, Aladdin's head for her lover to kiss. The iron in the wine shops half open at night, and the castanets. And the night we missed the boat at Algeciras, the watchman going about serene with his lamp, and oh, that awful deep down torrent. Oh, and the sea crimson sometimes like fire, and the glorious sunsets, and the fig trees in the Almeida Gardens. Yes. And all the queer little streets, and pink and blue and yellow houses, and the rose gardens, and the jessamine, and geraniums and cactuses, and Gibraltar as a girl, where I was a flower of the mountain. Yes, when I put the rose in my hair like the Andalusian girls used, or shall I wear a red? Yes. And how he kissed me under the Moorish wall, and I thought, well, as well him as another. And then I asked him with my eyes to ask again. Yes, and then he asked me. Would I? Yes. To say yes, my mountain flower. And first I put my arms around him. Yes, and I drew him down to me so he could feel my breast. Feel my breast. Yes, and his heart was going like mad, and yes, I said, yes, I will. Yes. Trieste, Zurich, Paris, 1914, 1921.